So for my chemistry class, I'm going to be doing a quick talk about valence electrons and how they affect the periodic table. Before me I have a drawing of the shells around an atom, and each of these little dots here are going to be representing the slots for electrons, and different elements on the periodic table are going to be taking up different amounts of slots here. And one good thing to remember is that to be able to find the valence electrons, you always use the electrons on the outermost shell. So say you're taking up 3 electron spaces, so the two in the center circle and then one more in the outer circle, then you're going to be having 1 valence electron because you're just taking up 1 in this outermost shell. Over here on the periodic table, we have a list of all the elements, and we won't be including the center area, the center row, because it doesn't have relevance to the valence electrons. So the neat thing about valence electrons is that they specify to certain rows on the periodic table. So say we have row 1 here. All the elements on this row are going to have 1 valence electrons. So therefore, row 1 equals 1 valence electron. And so on with row 2. Row 2 is going to equal, each of these elements is going to have 2 valence electrons. And like I was saying earlier, we're going to skip this whole entire center section and move on to row 13. And so with 13, you can just imagine that we're taking out the 1 and dropping down the 3. So we're going to imagine that this row is going to be row 3. And so therefore, this entire row of elements is going to have 3 valence electrons. And so on and so forth with each of the elements after that, or each of the rows after that. Finally, the amount of valence electrons in an element directly relates to the elemental properties. So whatever element you have, if you know the amount of valence electrons it has, as well as the amount of electrons it has, then you can start to calculate things like amount of protons and neutrons, as well as atomic mass, and other important things that you might need to know about said element.